Hiya, Dean here. Just wanted to put this up. Earlier today, I recorded a sort of podcast show for the Cosmic Shambles Network with Robin Ince, Sarah Turner, and Gina Rippon about the upcoming Channel 4 documentary, The Great ADHD Myth, question mark. And the way that's been put out there and the way it's been presented and advertised and the framing of it, because it's quite dangerous. And I've done a post about this. You may have seen it. It's been quite well received, if I don't say so myself. Check it out. I'll put a link in the bio and stuff. But one thing that came up, which I would like to expand on a bit, this show will be out soon, before the documentary is one of the constant responses I've had, and no doubt our episode itself will have, is that you haven't seen the show yet. You can't comment until you've seen it. And that's one area which I feel I can comment on. I may be one of the most experienced people in this regard. When I used to write for The Guardian, I had a whole subgenre going of my popular science section where I would give headlines and titles of articles which only made sense if you read the whole thing. So you have to, it presents a question or presents a statement, and then unless you read the end of it, it seems like quite a provocative, quite a provocative take on something. But the last section was like, actually, everything I've just said, it doesn't really apply. I'm just making a point here. Perhaps the most successful example of this was the article, Is Internet Porn Responsible for the Rise of Donald Trump? Put together a fairly coherent argument, I think, from a bit of selective choosing of sources. But the end point was, the final section explained that, no, this is not how anything works. You can't just pick a random theory and then flesh out a few little links and then claim that as a fact. And that's everything's far more complex, far more nuanced. This search for simple answers is unhelpful. But to this day, I still get people messaging me saying you're stupid for believing that the internet porn is responsible for Donald Trump, because they haven't read it and they haven't read the whole thing. And you think I would be the last person to suggest that you should comment on something without reading it or without seeing it first. But that's what's happening here. The Great ADHD Myth. We haven't seen it yet. How can you possibly judge it if you haven't seen it? That argument doesn't work here, because the way it's been presented and the way it's been advertised and sort of the press releases are already causing harm, causing damage, because they are presenting the very possibility that it is a myth. ADHD is a myth, which it isn't. It's undeniable at this point. And it's presenting the idea that there is a debate around this, which there isn't. It selected a few, let's say, less than entirely relevant experts. One person quoted did their training in medicine 30 years before ADHD was recognized as a disorder by the medical system, which I would say is relevant to whether their opinion on it is valid or not. And it's very, very telling that that it's been presented in this way of ADHD is a myth. Look, there are some people who say it definitely is, and that's bad. It presents the idea that it's a debated subject, that it's real or not is a matter of conjecture. It's not. It is no debate. It's not a myth. That's not been a thing. But a major TV channel has presented this possibility as a real thing, and people will see that. People will see the fact that there is a documentary called The Great ADHD Myth, and that'll be enough. It has been enough already. We've already seen it. I've already had people telling me these things, and I've seen this before. Some people may know me as the figurehead of the pushback against Johan Hari when he published his book Lost Connections, about why antidepressants don't work, aren't real. It's all a scam by Big Pharma. It's always Big Pharma. They do everything. And that is telling in and of itself, because I pushed back against that. But it was an excerpt published in The Guardian, a book section. And a lot of people said, well, how can you criticise it? You haven't even read the book yet. No, but he published this section of the book in The Guardian, which led to a million people reading it. I had access to the stats at the time, and making conclusions on it. I had people messaging me saying, I have just stopped taking antidepressants, cold turkey, which you really shouldn't do. Antidepressant tapering is the way to do it. Just cut them off immediately is really bad, really dangerous. And I can't prove it, but I'd be very surprised if people hadn't died as a result of this. But this book section was published in The Guardian like a good month before the book came out. So nobody who had taken that book section on board had read the book. So if everyone else is reserving their judgment until they see the thing, fair enough, but they aren't. People read the headlines and that's it. major publications, major TV channels say, this is a question, this is a thing, this is ADHD a myth, that's all people need. They take that on board as, oh, there's a TV show about it, it must be a valid concern. It's not, but presenting it as such makes people think it is. And the damage has already been done. So yeah, you don't need to, say, oh, you haven't read it, so you can't comment. You can, and you should, because everyone else is going to comment and make judgments based on the small snippets put out ahead of time. And that is really, really relevant and something to be pushed back against. It's a cynical tactic to just get attention, and it causes some serious damage and harm. When I did it, yes, it was a bit cynical, but I was trying to make a point. I also think I was punching up, or like showing people you shouldn't just judge based on the headlines, but they do. And that is the most important thing. So say like, well, you haven't read it yet, you haven't seen it yet. Nobody else will either. Loads of people who have not seen it have already made their judgment, and that's what you've got to push back against.